peoples of the interwebs, and welcome back to another video. So it's been a hot minute since I last posted, an actual video. Lately I've just been doing a bunch of shorts content where I'm redrawing all the Minecraft mods in my style, and we've made it over 50 days now. In my last video I redesigned my little avatar person, and since then I've been meaning to post the video where I did a bunch of the sprites. These are essentially what I used to talk in my videos. They represent me and they just do different expressions and stuff, and I'm at 38 of them now, so I really needed to do this video. Anyway, this video pretty much covers how I made my sprites and why I made any choices that I did make along the way, which I thought just made sense because, well, I drew a lot of them. Anyways, before we jump right into the drawing here, let's talk a bit about my old designs that I used. So for my YouTube, my old character's design had a total of 13 different sprites, so I've kind of tripled that amount with the new ones. I did originally have a lot more sketched up, but I never actually got around to finishing drawing them. I kind of got distracted and just kind of stopped at 13. How I did these ones was I drew each and every sprite separately, but I did have one basic rough sketch on the background that just had the proportions of my character so I could get them roughly the same. But it's why some of them look a little bit wonky compared to the other ones, and they don't all quite match right. This seems to be kind of the standard way of creating sprites for YouTubes and things like visual novels, but it can take quite a long time because you're redrawing the pose every single time, So I decided to mix it up a bit with my new sprite design and kind of do something a little bit different. So in the past I played around a bit with PNG tubers for my streams that I would do on occasion. And with things like that, what you do is you have to cut all the different parts of your character into bits so you can move them around, especially because I did it with PNG Tuber Plus, which lets you animate your PNGs. In a way, it's kind of like really basic VTubing, kind of without the rigging. You kind of do some basic animations using PNG Tuber Plus, and well, maybe one day I'll make an actual video on how to do it, but essentially you get to animate your little guys. So different parts of your character can move around, you can even have your character do different mouth movements and talk, which is a bit different than how PNG tubers normally work, where there's normally an open mouth and a closed mouth, and it just kind of jumps between both of those. PNG Tuber Plus just lets for more fancy PNG tubers, basically. Anyways, this is kind of how I decided to do my new sprites. Rather than drawing every single pose separately like I did in the past, I would start with one pose but cut it up into bits so I can move and change certain parts for different expressions and whatever. So I haven't mentioned it, but you may have noticed the background drawing for this whole video looks a bit weird, a bit barren. And that's because it was designed with my model in mind, and so the fact that it's not there makes it look a bit weird. You see on the right side of the screen, my character's supposed to be sitting on a big pillow amongst all the other pillows. And you'll see me drawing this here. She has a big star, beanbag cushion thing. And that pretty much comes back to why I've decided to do things this way, where I've cut all the different parts of the character rather than drawing all the frames individually. I essentially wanted to use my character more. So I use them to talk in my intros and outros. That's how I've done it in all my previous videos and kind of what I've used my sprites for up until this point. But now I'm kind of leaning towards using them way more in my videos, using them the whole time I'm talking, so while I'm drawing, they're sitting in the corner talking the entire time. What this means is I don't want to just have to use the same little handful of sprites over and over again. I just think it would get a bit boring and repetitive, so I wanted a huge range of different emotions that my character could do, as well as make it easier if I want to add more in the future, or if I want specific ones that I want for a certain shot in a video, which is why I decided to do my sprites this way instead of the more common way, and how I've ended up with nearly 40 different sprites at this point. And now's the kind of point in the video where you actually get to see this kind of happening, where I'm drawing different arms and different expressions and just moving everything around all the time. Some things I don't move around a lot, especially the legs and the torso and the tail and eventually the wings once I finally remember those exist and add them in later. But the things that move around a lot or change a lot are the expressions and the arms, because that tends to be how I express myself. I do talk a bunch with my hands, you can't see it now, but I'm doing the voiceover and going blah 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 blah. Swinging my hands around, I just hit my PC. You may have heard that in the recording. Regardless, I had a lot of fun just like messing with things and just trying different things. I had a cool idea for some of the sprites where I just moved some things very slightly so it kind of looks like it's animated when you put each bit right after each other. For instance, there's this one where I'm kind of shrugging, and that was only possible because, well, I had the arms clipped so it was easy to rotate them and move them because, well, they weren't attached to the body in any way. The downside of this is sometimes things can look a bit stiff because, well, some parts don't really move. Like, I don't think in all the 40 ones I ever really moved the legs. I pretty much kept them in the same kind of position. That doesn't mean I won't change them, I just couldn't be bothered at the time. I kind of want to do one at some point with her cross-legged or like leaning more or something like that. But we'll see how that goes as time progresses. As it stands, I was just having a lot of fun just drawing different expressions and getting really silly with them. I just had a lot of fun doing these. In a lot of ways, these were kind of inspired by me kind of doing emotes. I was doing emotes for a friend who streams on Twitch, and I just had a lot of fun drawing all the silly expressions, so I kind of wanted to put that into how I was doing my sprites. In some ways, it was hard to kind of come up with as many different expressions and stuff as I wanted, but in other ways it wasn't, because I just kind of was thinking about what I would say if I was drawing like a particular thing and what kind of poses I think would help me convey whatever I wanted to say. So some of them are really happy and excited, and some are really annoyed or awkward or just angry or a whole bunch of other things. I have some laughing, I have some looking incredibly stupid, I have some looking a bit ill, I have really sparkly ones. I was just having a great time drawing expressions. Now you may notice that the head hasn't really moved in any of these drawings, and that's because what I kind of did is I did a bunch of different head poses or like positions, I guess. But they kind of like all have different expressions that go on top of them. I think there's like 4 or 5 different like head positions that I end up doing. You can see them pop up here. And whenever that happened, all I kind of had to do was, well, redraw which position I had the head in and pretty much go with it from there. I didn't have to redraw the entire drawing from scratch, I just had to move the parts that I wanted to move and leave the rest where it was essentially, so it made it a lot easier and a lot quicker to do as many different expressions as I did. Last time I did sprites I did 13, and if I did it the same way as I did then, where I, drew each drawing individually and made them all different, I definitely would have probably done about the same amount before I stopped and never touched them again. I just got a lot more engaged in doing all these because, well, I got to focus on the part that I found the most fun, which was definitely the silly expressions. I said it a lot, but that's what I had the most fun doing. So I started doing these drawings right after I redesigned my avatar person in my last video. No, that's not why I have so many. It's not because I've had over a month to work on them. Most of these were done over the course of about 2 weeks, and then I was pretty much done. I still want to add some more, but at the time I was done, I was like, that's it, we're good. I'm just gonna send it, and I started putting the video together and proceeded to not do the voiceover. Ever. It just didn't happen. I couldn't bring myself to do it, so we're doing it today. But anyway, over the course of those couple weeks, what I found myself doing was looking at a lot of the media I consume, like different manga and webtoon, and seeing different expressions and then going, that would be a funny one to put on my little guy, or something that conveys a similar emotion that I thought would be handy to have. And I would do a really rough little circular face sketch. You might see them popping up in the background here or there. And I would pretty much use those to kind of decide on what kind of expressions I was doing. Or I'd have a random idea at 3 in the morning and whip out my iPad to do a quick doodle. It happened more times than you'd expect, but it just kind of kept happening. Inspiration is kind of whack like that, I find, especially when it comes to art. The most random things can just inspire you to do a facial expression or some different picture. I don't know. Facial expressions is where I was at with this, so yeah. Anyway, if you didn't notice, I'm steadily running out of stuff to say while I draw a good 40 something drawings, so I don't know, I'm just kind of yapping at this point. I'm just saying whatever comes to mind. Here you go, look at these guys. I came up with a cool idea to make freaky, glowy pink eyes when she's mad or something. I don't know, I thought it was funny. I don't know, if you ever have a character that you're just kind of starting to get into, or like learning to draw, or like you want some ideas for what to draw, don't know what to draw, this is a great fun thing to do. Fuck around with expressions. It's so much fun. I had so much fun just fucking around. It was glorious. And since doing all these, I've found that I haven't had as much difficulty drawing expressions anymore because, well, I don't feel the need to confine myself to, you know, my one set style because, well, my chibis can go wild with expressions, and it was kind of like a realization that I had that I can do whatever I want with them. I don't need their eyes to look always the same. I can give them tiny dots. I can give them whack mouths. It doesn't matter. It's my own art. I can do what I want. And it was a fun realization. So I've been having a lot more fun with, well, what I'm doing lately. But yeah, I'd really be wild like that sometimes, huh? Anyway, we're pretty much coming to the end of this long video of me drawing like all the different expressions because it's been going on for like 10 minutes now almost. Don't ask me how long that is, not sped up, because the answer is I have no idea. Anyway, now it's time for the fun part where I get to show you all the different finalized little sprite guys. I flirted about the idea of not showing you guys all these and letting you slowly find them over the course of, well, whatever future videos I do and stuff. But that's boring and I don't want to do that. What's the point of putting this giant video together if I'm not going to show off all the little silly expressions that I did? Plus, the entire time I was working on all of these little sprites, I had been putting them in their own little folder kind of like picture with like numbers so I could keep track of how many I've done at that point, which is how I know I did like a lot of them. Anyway, now's the time I say, go, tell me what expression you're feeling. Which of these little guys is you today? How are you feeling today? There are lots of guys. Pick an emotion. That can be your little guy for the day. Anyways, before we move on here, I just want to talk a little bit about the little PNG tuber person I have going at the moment, because I did do that with like the same pose as all of my sprites have. I thought it would be kind of cool because it matches and it made it easier to, like, if I wanted to put my PNG tuber over top of my sprites, I could do that if I wanted to. So everything that I cut before had to be cut down even more because some things, well, I only cut a little bit. I didn't actually do all of it, like the big back chunk of the hair and the little side bits and like the general face and legs and stuff. So you'll see me recutting everything here down to be like a bit more like a VTuber, so I can use it for the PNG tuber plus, so I can animate everything. So I had to do an open mouth and a closed mouth and everything else. Anyways, by the end of it, I had all these little different cut up bits that I could put in. I just thought it would be a cool thing to show off because, well, it kind of goes back to how I cut things up originally and kind of what that all looks like. Anyway, yeah, and that's that. Those are all of my new sprites I'll be using for my future videos. Look, I get to use them now. I get to use them in this part. That's really exciting for me because I haven't got to use them yet. Hopefully this means that I start doing some more videos. I have a few different ones sitting there that I need to do. I need to do another My Little Pony as Humans one because I've got like 2 out of the main 6 done and I was definitely meant to do more of those. At least I've been practicing my voiceover a lot, having done all of my little, you know, Minecraft mob drawings because, well, I've been going for 50 days now and I think only 2 of them aren't voiceovered. So I've had a lot of practice, so I feel like I've gotten better and more confident at voiceover. This took me way less time than last time I tried to do voiceover, so who knows? Anyway, I hope you guys liked this video and maybe it inspired you to draw a bunch of silly guys with silly expressions too. I had a lot of fun doing it, maybe you will too. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-byes!